The streamer I'm going to tie today is this craftfur streamer, which is a mostly synthetic fly. And I've tied it on this Attitude streamer, size 2, which I think was just it's an all-round nice hook, and this size is, it's a very nice all-round size of a fly too. I mean, you can fish trout or bass or perch or even pike if you want. It's like a smallish pike fly, but a pike will grab this. So it's sea trout. I mean, it works for kind of all predatory fish. And this is a little trick I learned from Harry Moore's. Is you tie in a couple of wraps and then you hold the tag end, and then you pull on your thread so the tag end gets really small, and then you wrap across your tag end. That way you don't waste any material tying in your thread. So we're going to start with these hackle tips, and this is just from a whiting dry fly neck. I just used the longer feathers here on the bottom. But you can use any hackle. It doesn't have to be a whiting or a dry fly hackle at all. It could be a saltwater hackle. Works just as well. This is the feathers that I have on hand, so this is what I use. And I flatten them with these flat pliers. It helps in with tying in the feather so that it sits vertically on the hook. So we're just going to tie in 2 of these, one on each side. Like that. Like that. The next step is to tie in craft fur above and below. So I'm using white craft fur under the fly, and then some gray craft fur on top of the fly. And then what you do is, I mean, depending on the length of your craft fur, I mean, this is a really long craft fur, the fibers are quite long, so what I've done is you grab a bunch like this, you cut it off, you clear out the under fur. I mean, it's not, I mean, this is a synthetic material, but it's made to replicate real fur, so they've emulated under fur, which is annoying for us fly tyers, but you brush that out, and then I've actually stacked the tips, and I've already pre-prepped a bunch here. So you can see this length here is actually shorter than the length of this fiber. And now you just want really a small amount of craft fur here. You don't want a lot. You just want to cover the underside and get it that lighter belly color. So I'm just going to tie it in with a couple of wraps, and then I'm going to, with my thumb, spread it out on the underside of the hook so that it kind of comes up on the sides too, like that, and then just pull tight, and then you can coax it to kind of sit evenly. Like that. And now I'm going to tie in my top color, which is also just gray craft fur. Like that. Now you want to make sure that the lengths, I'm actually gonna tie this in a little longer, like that. Because you want your material on top to be at least as long as the material on the bottom. And then we tie in our butt ends. Like that. And now that's it for the back half of the fly. Now I'm going to dub the body, and I'm going to use a material called Starburst Dubbing. It's from Fly Tyers Dungeon, flytyersdungeon.com. And it's just like a very nice synthetic dubbing. I mean, it's similar to ice dub. You can use that if you have it. I mean, this is super cheap. I would really recommend it. But the fibers are quite long, so I just grabbed this healthy bunch here, and I'm going to stack it on top of each other like this. And then I'm going to tear it off because I think the original fibers are too long for a dubbed body on a fly this size. and I actually want a bit more. So I'm just going to grab a bunch like this, pull it in half, and then just mix it up. And now I'm not going to use a dubbing loop or anything like that. I'm just going to dub this straight onto my thread, and it's going to be quite messy, but honestly you get the same results as a, well, similar results to a dubbing. On a dubbing loop you get even more kind of loose fibers, and here I just want to apply this to my thread really coarsely. So then we wrap this on like so. And now I'm going to use a piece of Velcro just to brush out this dubbing. Okay, so now we just have the head left. So first I'm going to tie in some white craft fur below. So you tie off a bunch like this, you hold it, clean out all the butt ends. If you want to, if you have a cat brush, you can brush it out with the brush. I mean, these are really useful. Now, I mean, this is, if I were to tie this in full length, that would be a bit long. So I'm just going to grab the longest fibers and I'm going to stack them so I get the length that I want, while still keeping the tips tapered. And this is actually a bit much, I feel, so I'm going to remove some of the craft fur. I don't want too much. Okay, now we're going to tie this in. Like that. Now I'm not using a ton of force here, so that these fibers are still quite loose, so I can manipulate them like this. I'm just using my thumb to move them around the hook shaft, so that I get an even spread up on the sides of the fly. And you want to make sure that this is even. Okay, now you can actually back off one wrap and then pull tight. Just, you can hold down the bunch with your index finger and your thumb and just cinch down so that it doesn't wrap around the hook. Okay. Now on top we're gonna start off with gray craft fur. And here you want a longer bunch than you used, and a longer and thicker bunch than you used on the bottom. Now we go in and we measure. And I think something like that is pretty good. Yep. So I'm going to hold him in my left hand, place him on top, and then with 3 wraps of thread, just hold them loosely. Make sure that they sit the way I want to. Hold it and just pull. So the next step is the darker top, and we're going to use this dun gray Starburst Fiber, also from Fly Tang's Dungeon. You could use shimmer fringe. I mean, I think that would be a really similar material to this. And I'm just going to grab a liberal clump of this dubbing, and I'm just going to stack it loosely in my fingers, because this you want to tie in full length. So I'm going to stack it like so. And now when you tie this in, I would tie it in around 60-40, so 60% of the material facing forwards and 40% facing back, roughly. Because then we're going to fold this part, we're going to fold it over the fly. So I'm just going to place it down right on top. And then come down 1, 2 wraps, like that. And then make sure it sits right on top. Now it's actually a little bit off to the side. So I'm going to see if I can move a little bit like that. Yep, that's good. Now we want to spread this out a little bit. Like so. Hold it, pull tight, then grab these ends. Make sure you don't get any of your butt ends here. And fold these over. So the next thing that we're going to tie in is Peacock Curl. Now I'm using the fibers from a peacock eye, but you can use strung fiber, it works just as well. But I have these laying around, so I thought I'd use them. So you grab a bunch of these fibers, say around, I don't know, 8 or so, 8 or 9. And there's actually a short one that I want to use, like this. And then you can take your scissors and you can actually curl these fibers like you would curl the string on a present or something like that. Whoop, I broke one, doesn't matter. So now these will actually lay nicely on top of my streamer. So now I lay these out like that. And then you grab them and then you pinch them down. Whoop. You want them to be sitting right on top of your fly. So I'm just going to have a quick check that they're centered on top. And I am happy, so I'm just going to cinch down. 1, 2, 3 wraps is plenty. Okay, and that's our fly. So now we're just going to clean up the head and add eyes. So what I like to use is a double-edged razor blade when I clean up heads like this. If you have a normal like hobby knife, like this would also work. Not as well though, because these are really, really sharp. Or you could use your tying scissors. And yeah, so I'm going to use this razor blade. And you have to be careful so you don't cut your thread and you don't cut your wing materials. So now I'm just going to clean up this head. And one thing that I forgot that we're also going to add is a lateral line, and I'm just going to use a single piece of pearl saltwater flash. So I'm just going to measure it out on this side and simply tie it in. You only need 2 wraps. because we're going to be gluing the head with super glue and adding eyes and UV glue. So this is not going to go anywhere once that is tied in. So I tie it in like that, and then you can actually use one wrap and then fold it all back on itself and secure it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So now we're almost done. I'm just going to trim these to the same length like that. Okay, now I'm just going to clean up this head with my thread. So with tight wraps, you can see that I just jumped right there. Now we're just going to try to clean this up as good as we can. Okay. Here are some fibers that are bothering me, so I'm just gonna trim those out with my razor blade. Okay, and our fly is pretty much complete. So now I'm going to whip finish, and then we're going to add eyes. Like that. Okay, now when I tie in the eyes, I'm going to grab my flat pliers and just gently flatten the head so that I get a flat tie-in surface, or a flat surface to glue on my eyes rather. Then I'm just using these white eyes. I think they're 5mm or 4mm, something like that. Use what you think looks good. Then just gel super glue. And the last thing we're going to do is add UV resin on top and on bottom to finish off the head.